Welcome back to the channel.
Today we are in Charleston and we're gonna go check out the Maritime Naval Museum.
Yeah, so come get lost with us in some military history.
Let's go.
Legit tip, if there's a whole cruise section where you can go on a cruise and tour the bay as well as dinner cruises and stuff, so definitely an option when you're visiting.
I think that would be fun to try next time we come to Charleston as a dinner cruise. That'd be cool.
Here's the aircraft carrier from the outside. There's Nacy, and then there's a battleship over there. Out front, this is the first time I've ever seen the United Space Force flag. Oh gosh. Did you have all the military flags out here? Let's head to the left, find that main entrance. Up close and personal. It's kind of neat as you board the aircraft carrier. You can tell the difference between the dock and the boat. If you're interested in what this aircraft carrier took part in, there's some of the missions. And then another pretty neat statue. And there's its bell. I think it's weird that most of my knowledge from taking down a boat was from Bob's Burger, so I'm not sure how accurate it's going to be. Look how big the inside of this thing is. Imagine how many planes and stuff they could fit. Well, there's some Corsairs. That was my mom's favorite plane. There's Nacy taking a look at the map.
In 1968, the Yorktown starred in the movie Tora Tora Tora, and it played a Japanese carrier, Akagi. But Yorktown served as the primary recovery ship for the Apollo 8 before transferring it to the Atlantic Fleet in early 1969.
Yeah.
And then it was decommissioned in 1970.
Well, it's been decommissioned a few times because it was decommissioned after World War II, and then they brought it back into service in '55 for the Korean War, but it never saw any action. Fascinating. Now, when they say it's retained by a crew member, does that mean that they accidentally took it, or does that mean they're allowed to take it?
That's a great question.
Here's a model of the ship with all the Corsairs and stuff, so I'm guessing that would be the setup during World War II.
Mm-hmm.
I have a little bayonet from the captain, the officer's sword, from 65 to 66. Oh, and a flight helmet. I always found it fascinating. My uncle had one of these, and it was on his dresser, because he was an Air Force pilot. I'm always fascinated by the Air Force pilot helmets. So this is the 10th U.S. Navy aircraft carrier ever commissioned. The captain's famous words: if you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But get the job done. If you can't get the job done, get off my ship. There was love. This is a model of the USS Franklin, which was deemed as unsinkable. And one apparently Japanese stealth fighter was able to sink it. We never learned from the Titanic, do we? Check out the size of these guns. And there's the shells that go in it. Oh, this is aboard the Franklin. The Franklin's the one that sunk.
Yeah.
I don't know how well you can see this, but this is basically a replica of the plan of the day. So 8:30 was lunch. 14:30 was landing stuff. Here's a porthole from the USS Franklin. Again, the ship that sank during World War II. Which is where this gun that we just showed you was from too. Look how big it is. That is crazy big. Crazy big. So this display kind of talks about how basically they use submarines to knock out the Navy for Japan. But then they started doing kamikaze runs. And so when they did the kamikaze runs, they would decimate the ships instead of the actual ship-to-ship battles. Fascinating. The last carrier battle was 1944. Here's what the Japanese carrier looks like. You can see it doesn't have as many like stations on the top, much smaller. Mm-hmm. And really kind of focused on like a runway. Another anti-air gun that they have here. Not as big as the other one. Here's another model they have of the Yorktown. It's kind of neat. All the planes on the deck. The Battle of the Coral Sea is one of the big Yorktown battles where it got damaged pretty heavily. But they did end up sinking the Shoho and damaged the Shokaku. And then they talk about how it was used to protect the islands surrounding Hawaii. The Midway, that's what they call it. Interesting. Those are pictures of the Midway Islands that it was sent to protect. Basically, Japan was trying to use it as a staging point to attack Hawaii more efficiently. It was a big battle that this aircraft carrier was a part of. So when the Yorktown was damaged in that fight, this is the degrees that the deck would have been going at after that battle. That's how damaged it was. They say anywhere from 22 to 26 degrees, and this is a 22-degree angle. This is very fascinating. So this was the first Yorktown. It actually sunk. Looks like, and was the CV-5, where we're on the CV-10. And it was actually found by the same person that found the Titanic, Robert Ballard. He's also in Sequest DSV. He talks a lot. That's fascinating. So here's some footage. I don't know how well you can see it because it's not very clear to me. But this is him finding the Yorktown at the bottom of the ocean. 16,650 feet down. It actually looks better on the camera than it does in person. What were you saying?
So in 1975 is when they moved the USS Yorktown to Charleston, and an interesting thing was Boy Scouts would do overnights and like camping trips here, and there's a picture of like some Boy Scouts hanging out in the bunk, and it's actually just back beyond here, which you can't go back there, but that's where they would camp out. I don't know, that would be really interesting. When I was in middle school, we went, I don't know what ship it was that we looked at, but we got to like go through all the barracks and stuff, and I thought that was really cool. So I'm curious to see if we'll get to do that here. But I don't know, would you spend the night on a ship?
Yeah, here's what Nancy was talking about. If you're interested, you can camp on the Yorktown. You eat just like the sailors, you sleep just like the sailors. To a Vietnam experience exhibit.
And I'm guessing these are all the different scout troops that have already done it.
The brochures are gone, or we'd give you more information. See the dolphins right there alongside the boat.
They said you could see dolphins up here.
Yeah, look at them. They're there. Looks like they're fishing or something. That's cool.
He stuck his head up. Right there, the guy was like kind of there in the middle.
Yeah, Sam.
His whole body, his like whole face came out.
Wonder what they're doing. They must be eating. I'm guessing. Pretty cool biplane hanging from the rafters. It's amazing how big this area actually is. in the boat. I don't think the camera does it justice how expansive it is. This Project Apollo capsule is one of the missions, Apollo 8, that the Yorktown did. This is a reproduction. This isn't the actual capsule, but it's the size and everything. It's pretty neat. So this random piece that's kind of back in the corner is the hook that was a part of the original tackle used to lift Apollo 8 out of the water onto the Yorktown. Nice little piece of history, kind of hidden back in this corner.
So this is like really tight quarters because like you can see like your head has to fit in a certain spot and your calves of your leg have to fit in a certain spot. And like you're like this. Not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, it's kind of like a universal ride. So this is the Dauntless. There's a ship like that in Stargate. But this is a World War II carrier scout dive bomber. Check out the replica bomb on the bottom. That was a scout. I wonder what the big antenna thing right there is for. I really don't know. Genuine question. Anybody knows, let me know in the comments. It's interesting. Check out how big the motor is. Whew. These are definitely classics. The exhaust for the motor right there. They got a plaque for the servicemen who made the ultimate sacrifice. There's a few on the Saratoga. And a bunch on the Yorktown. A lot on the Enterprise. Interesting. So there's Scrappy, and he said Scrappy is...
Scrappy was a dog that snuck on to the Yorktown at Pearl Harbor in 1943, and he kind of became like an unofficial mascot for the Yorktown.
Aw, look at Scrappy. He's cute.
And they called him Jock. He's Scrappy, but they also called him Jock. So, however, just like all dogs, he pooped everywhere.
Well, yeah, that's what a dog does. Why is that notable?
Because apparently the commander of the Yorktown got a penchant for a clean ship.
Like every military officer? Okay. This is the F-4F Wildcat. It's a World War II carrier fighter. It's kind of hard to get the whole thing there. So they're so much bigger than you think they're going to be, really. I mean, look at this thing. Look at that wing. That huge wings. Apparently this is Lieutenant Commander Edward Butch O'Hare, which was on the Wall of Fame over there. We walked past. And he had 7 kills.
I don't know what happens when I hit set.
It's a 4-stroke combustion engine. Go for it.
But it has an emergency button on it too, so I'm like, nothing.
I was hoping it would start up, but it did not.
It's so cool to look at.
It's a huge motor. I mean, it doesn't look that massive from this side, but then you go straight away, and it's pretty massive. Got some dolphins out here. See him? There he is again. Oh wow, they're right by the boat, yo. It's funny, they come up and they like spit, like. Phew.
Yeah, I heard a splash, and I was like, "What was that?"
There he goes. Oh, there goes 3 of them.
Bye,
Little
guys.
ones. See you again next year.
That was cool. They're like.
So this plane is the Avenger. It's a World War II torpedo bomber. I always find it fascinating how their wings kind of break down. Because you'll see on this one over here how like big the wing is. So obviously that wouldn't fit a bunch of planes in this area, even though it's massive. So they kind of broke down sideways, which is really neat. This is Commander Walter F. I think that says Henry, but it might say Menry. Pilot and 2 people in this one. Oh, so that's why it's a torpedo bomber. Check out the big torpedo.
The craziest thing to note about this ship is just its size.
Yeah.
Like how much it could actually contain. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, look all the way down there. There's some kind of celebration at the end of that hallway, but look how massive it is. We talked about it at the beginning, too. This is a Corsair. This is my mom's favorite airplane. Interesting note. We used to watch a show on TV that was about airplane pilots in like World War II and Vietnam. I think it was World War II. And they flew Corsairs, and she was always impressed by it. Always saying that this was her favorite plane. Are you a Mustang person or a Corsair person? So this is fascinating. They use that tail hook to basically slow the plane down when it's landing. So it comes in for landing, the tail hook hits that big metal wire, and that's what stops this bad boy from rolling off the ship. So this is the Skyrider. Apparently Rear Admiral Arthur Knowsen. You can see how it actually transported more people than the other ones do. It's a little bit bigger in this back area. And then this was just a fighter plane. This is the Hellcat. So it is just a fighter. So the Hellcat doesn't really have bombs or anything on it, doesn't look like. It's more of a air fighting. Whereas this has a little bit of everything. What were you saying?
This is the Skyrider, so you can see where they've held the torpedoes and the bombs.
Yeah. So between like between like two planes, there's a little like interactive board. It's not super responsive to your fingers, but it can show you like the different weapons and stuff of each of the planes. Macy just said off camera, this is the danger zone. This is the F9F Cougar, and it is a fighter that is first flew in 1951.
It could go 1,200 miles at a speed of 650 miles per hour, and it had a service ceiling of 40,000 feet, so like that's as high as it would go, is 40,000 feet, and it served in Japan and was in Pensacola, and it did a total of 4,300 hours flight time.
And isn't Pensacola where Top Gun is?
Maybe.
Look how tiny the stairways are. It's kind of crazy how tight the fits are. Such a big room. This is right off that big room, and then there's just this tiny little stairway to get down to the next level. A legit tip is you can actually take a helicopter tour. It's taking off in the distance over there if you wanted to over the bay. But check this out. One of the guns on the deck, I would guess an anti-aircraft gun? It's really cool. It's got the pedals for the person driving it, all the little things to turn. Really, really fascinating. Get to the chopper. Oh, the chopper leaving you. Wow, you almost like fall into those cars. It's a little windy today. Alright, so here's some of the tour stops if you do it at Post Office.
Do a self-guided tour, you don't actually have to take a tour.
Yeah. So we went below decks. I don't know if that's correct, I'm just guessing here. But this is the officers' galley. It's funny. Well, it's kind of interesting. I would say funny. There's no air conditioning.
No, I can't
So it's
imagine what it was really like.
right. So it's definitely warm. Yeah, let's see if we get in trouble for doing this. They got a big picture of the crew from 1948. Look at those stashes. Next level on some of them. But not very many. And then I'm guessing all the officers are on the far table in the back. There's like a dining room, a naval museum. Look how low the head things are. Like I could hit my head if I was not paying attention in this area. And I'm only 6 foot.
Okay, so this is the actual...
Dining area.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the actual dining area. This picture of the aircraft. I'm guessing World War II times. Because there's a lot of biplanes and stuff.
Choppers.
And some choppers, yeah. Some choppers. Oh, there you go. There's the rescue mission for the Apollo. Pictures of it. The chopper getting the pilots. There's the thing that we found upstairs that's like right in that corner, the hook thing. I'm still fascinated by like how low the ceilings are. I'm literally like constantly on lookout for my head because it's like right there. We were just talking, imagine like the ship's going down, you're probably not eating, but you could be up below this area and trying to make your run through the ship, ducking your head to make sure you don't hit things, popping through little holes in the floor to get to the next floor just to try to get out. I can't imagine the fear and panic. Oof. Wow. And again, the first Yorktown did sink, so it's not like these didn't go down.
Or have issues. Yeah. Even if it didn't completely go down, I think it had a couple issues.
Whew.
Not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, let's see what else we can find on these lower decks. So this is where the officers stayed. It's kind of big in comparison to everything else that's here, but it's small compared to the outside world.
I've also heard stories of people who said that they would like strap themselves in at night too because of it was like rocking you to sleep. So we have made it to deck 3, and we are definitely now in the bowels of this ship. And it's very narrow. If you're claustrophobic, this is not where you want to be. It's crazy, right? Hot as shit too.
It's very long, yes. Very long. That's pretty cool. That's the catapult mechanism that basically launches jets off the ship.
Fascinating. And they only have 150 feet of runway, which is not a lot of space. We fly a lot, and can't imagine getting off the ground in 150 feet, man. Crazy. Alright, we found the barber shop.
2 chairs for this whole ship. That's interesting.
Actually,
all the wires and stuff.
yeah. It's pretty cool. Hello.
You feel the newer stuff? It's newer?
Yes, Mr. Electrician?
That's probably asbestos.
Yeah, I was going to ask that question, and since this ship is built so many years ago, do you think there's stuff?
Probably, yes. There's probably asbestos in there.
All right, let's go see what's next door. This was where the soda fountain and the ship's store was. And I doubt they were eating top ramen, but they definitely were smoking cigarettes. That I am sure of. And then here's some like uniforms too. So even though this was a Navy ship, they still had Marines on board, which is interesting. Here were the store hours, very limited hours. So it wasn't like you just got to go get soda whenever you wanted.
So the Coke was 2 cents or $2? I'm guessing 2 cents.
2 cents.
Those hot dogs and hamburgers don't look very appetizing.
And I don't feel like they probably had this all the time. It's probably like a special treat. Here's a brief glimpse as to what it might have looked like.
I can't imagine the lines. Like the lines when it opened. I mean, I get that people on like rotating schedules and stuff, but still it had to be crazy sometimes getting whatever it is you wanted. Alright, here's some little hidden room on the way up to the deck. The oldest and boldest. There are a lot of stairs, people. It's a legit tip. There are a lot of stairs. Something that Nacy said off camera, but apparently they turn on very dim lights for them to see them to land at night. And this is the ready room, so she'll probably make a Top Gun reference in here too.
This makes me think of Top Gun and like the flight school, because this is literally like where they would learn flight.
Alright, a lot of stairs. Here's the flight area. This is interesting. They have like a whole roster for each of the pilots, what they're supposed to be doing that day. And it's all a chalkboard. Old school, y'all. So they have the lights out to the flight deck is red. I'm guessing this is what happens when something was about to go down. There's the radio room. Fun fact, I used to actually know Morse code. And he's actually going rather slow. So right next to the communication center is the carrier control center. And this is where they launch all the planes. This is where they got the radar. They got weird mannequins looking at you. Fascinating. Look at all the wires. This was basically the master indicator control room. Basically, if equipment was failing or they had a check engine light, this is where it would pop up at. Yeah. And it looks very small. Like, I'm guessing like maybe 2 people at most in this room?
Yeah.
Weird. We've entered the flight deck. Ooh, I saw something pop up there. Yeah, this is how big the flight deck was. Right?
Oh god. It's a holographic projection and the person moved and I was like, what?
Yep. This is on the other side of the flight deck, which again fascinates me. So this guy is the guy that repairs it. So the guy on the other side sees the warnings and then he has to send it over here once he figures out what's wrong, and then they repair it in this area. It's interesting how they split everything up so much. We have made it to the flight deck. Look how massive this deck is. There's some blue angels out here.
I'm out here.
Can you imagine the heat that would come out of one of these? It's one of the jet fighters on the deck. Whew. It would be hot. It would be hot. So this is one of the Major Lee Lassiter and Captain John Cummings. Good last name. Marines. I think I had a model of this as a micro machine back in the day. Yep, it's a Phantom.
Yeah, this was flown in Vietnam.
Vietnam. You definitely get a good view of the skyline of Charleston from up here. Look at that, there's a tour boat. This is the deck, y'all. It is expansive.
Also, I just want to say something that's actually like kind of like a rumor slash, it's probably been proven true, but a lot of men who are in the Navy only had girls. And the theory is because of all of the solar on the Navy ships. And they're exposed to like a high amount of radiation.
Oh, sonar, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Good to know.
Yeah, that's why a lot of Navy men only have daughters.
The more you know. Yeah, we saw this a second ago, but Blue Angel, Captain Gil Rudd.
This is the Sea King, and the reason why I got the name the Sea King is because it's slightly amphibious. It can float in the water if needed for a certain amount of time, which is kind of cool. Which I think is probably necessary if you're going to do sea missions and rescues.
Yeah, this is the helicopter that picked up Apollo 8 out of the ocean. Yeah, this one got hit by the stop wire. Fascinating. Alright, we're going for another Top Gun reference from Nacy. I guarantee.
Top Gun! It's an F-14, so this is the first movie, the first Top Gun. was based around.
He also ends the second movie in this as well.
Yeah, that's true. He does. He flies one of these at the very end. He goes and he finds it in their base. Spoilers.
So there is a destroyer. You'll hear the helicopter landing in the background again, but there's a destroyer right next to it. It's probably like 1/8 the size of the aircraft carrier. You can also go aboard. We might run across and look at the deck. This is the same room that we started earlier, but on the other side where they're having like a presentation thing. They have another bomber here. But something that's fascinating is this is how big that deck was. It just keeps going and going and going. I mean, these decks are massive. Massive. It's crazy how big they are. Something else cool is this on the top. If you can kind of see, it's a little backlit. It's their 600-pound winch. So basically they use that to help move the planes when they need to get them around the ship. And it kind of moves all along. You can switch to different tracks and stuff. This is fascinating. If you're a Army buff or Navy buff or even like a war buff, this is definitely a good place to check out. One thing about this is it's not well labeled, but if you come over here, Tour 1, which we couldn't get to this morning, you can go down to the chapel, torpedo workshop, crew quarters and mess, medical spaces, and the laundry. So we only saw the like captains and higher ups mess. Interesting. The underside of an aircraft carrier.
It's just massive. It's just absolutely massive.
Agreed. How long has this been parked here? Since the 70s or something?
Yeah, 1975.
Yeah.
So 40-something years.
Yeah, it smells like they're repainting it right now, which they probably do, and they probably have to scrape off the barnacles too.
Yeah. Well, this was fun. Yeah, so that's going to wrap up our time here at the USS Yorktown Maritime Museum here in Charleston.
Yeah, it's a fun experience. Negotiate about 2 hours, and you'll get to check out there are a ton of planes. And the one thing is, it's really deceptively large.
Yeah, you could definitely spend way more time here than even we did. There's a whole Medal of Honor museum that we didn't check out yet. There's a whole Vietnam War museum that we didn't check out. There's the additional battleship over here. I mean, this place is huge. There's so much to do, and it was $27 a person, so really not a bad tourist attraction.
Yeah, agree, and it's definitely worth it if you're in Charleston. This is definitely one of our other things to do. Check out some of the other videos where we've hung out in Charleston and done some other things, but if you like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up.
Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button.
And ring that notification bell so you get notified we do at least 3 videos a week.
And we'll come and get you guys for the next one.
Ain't that the truth, baby Ruth?